This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou. This is the English soundtrack from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou.
Top, allumage et décollage.
Hello and welcome. We are live at the Guiana Space Center for the 9th launch this year, and it's a hot night here on the edge of the Amazon rainforest on the northeastern coast of South America, where our mission tonight is to deliver the MOHAMMED VI satellite for the Kingdom of Morocco. There it is inside the top of the launcher on the pad, going through the final preparations before liftoff. That's scheduled in about 13 minutes' time, just over. You can see the countdown there on the top right-hand side of your screen. This is the Mission Control Center where I am right now. Behind me, the teams in what we call the fishbowl behind this glass are concentrating hard at this point before the launch. And we are traveling on board the 13th Vega launcher to lift off from the pad here at the CSG. She stands some 30 meters tall, the same height as one of her big sister Ariane 5's boosters, and she weighs 138 tons. That's about a fifth of Ariane's side. And inside the top of Vega is our satellite, the MOHAMMED VI satellite, attached inside the fairing, we call that pointy section at the top. It's built by a consortium of industries, led by Thales Alenia Space as system prime contractor and Airbus as co-prime. And it weighs just over 1 ton. Now, the Mission Control Center here is about 15 kilometers from that pad, and all the teams in the fishbowl here behind me are very cool, calm and collected. They've done this very many times before. One of them is Luce Fabregat, who is the Executive Vice President of Arianespace, and Luce has come out of the fishbowl to come and join us and talk to us now. Luce, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Luce, let's start by telling us a little bit more about today's mission. Racontez-nous un petit peu plus sur la mission d'aujourd'hui.
Alors tout d'abord, je voudrais vous souhaiter la bienvenue.
I would like to wish you a very warm welcome to all of you, those of you here and those who are following us behind their screens. It's a special mission today for several reasons. First of all, because some of us were here a year ago on November 7, 2017 for the twin satellite, twin to the one we're launching tonight. It was satellite MOHAMMED VI-A, whereas today we're very happy to be with you to launch satellite MOHAMMED VI-B, which will double the Earth observation capability of the Kingdom of Morocco. It's also a special launch in that the manufacturers of this satellite, a consortium behind the manufacturing of this satellite, are long-time friends, partners that we've had for many years. Thales Alenia Space, on the one hand, our client tonight, and Airbus Defence Space, the main contractor. And we've been working with them for several decades already. It's also special in that we're using Vega, the lightweight launcher of the family, which has succeeded in all its launches since it was introduced here at the CSG. It was on 13th of February 2012.
Very briefly, qu'est-ce qui va se passer ce soir? What's going to happen tonight?
So tonight, as you can see, we're in the final phase of the operations. The satellite is under its fairing, the launch vehicle is on its launch pad, getting ready for liftoff. The gantry, the mobile gantry, has already been withdrawn, and the mission will be rather short, 55 minutes and 21 seconds. Liftoff will be taking place precisely at 22 hours 42 minutes. minutes, and it will be a mission heading towards the north, the Sun synchronous mission, and then the satellite will go across the Atlantic, come back down on the other side, and then we will separate the satellite Mohammed VI B.
Thank you very much indeed, Luz. Let's find out more about our mission.
Bienvenue au Centre spatial guyanais pour le lancement Vega VV13, 9e lancement de l'année pour Arianespace. Le véhicule de lancement Vega placera sur une orbite héliosynchrone le satellite MOHAMMED VI B. Il y rejoindra son satellite jumeau, le satellite MOHAMMED VI-A, lancé par Arianespace en novembre dernier. Le satellite MOHAMMED VI B est un satellite d'observation de la Terre, réalisé pour le Royaume du Maroc par le consortium Thales Alenia Space en tant que mandataire et Airbus en co-maîtrise d'œuvre. Responsable du système, Thales Alenia Space a fourni la charge utile comportant l'instrument optique et le sous-système de transmission des images, ainsi que le segment sol de traitement de production de ces images. Airbus est responsable du satellite et de son intégration. Il a fourni la plateforme et le segment sol de planification mission et de contrôle satellite. Le satellite MOHAMMED VI B servira notamment aux activités cartographiques et cadastrales, à l'aménagement du territoire et au suivi des activités agricoles. Il servira également à la prévention et à la gestion des catastrophes naturelles, au suivi des évolutions environnementales et de la désertification, ainsi qu'à la surveillance des frontières et du littoral. Ce second lancement constitue une étape importante dans le développement de l'activité spatiale au Royaume du Maroc et nous sommes très heureux d'y contribuer.
Indeed, and just to let you know, the final weather check was a couple of minutes ago at -10 minutes to launch, and the weather status panel is all green now. So the process of preparing the satellite and rocket is called the launch campaign, and sometimes that launch campaign can take several months. Each launch campaign is a different duration, and during that time many of the teams live here at the Guiana Space Center to work on the preparations. The MOHAMMED VI B satellite was built in Europe, and it arrived here at the Guiana Space Center on the 5th of October on a special plane. We're going to find out a little bit more now about the activities during that launch campaign.
La campagne d'intégration du lanceur Vega s'est déroulée de manière totalement nominale sur une durée de 30 jours. Les activités ont débuté le 1er octobre avec le transport du premier étage du lanceur depuis sa zone de production directement sur le site de lancement LA1. Le premier étage du lanceur est principalement composé du moteur P80, un moteur contenant environ 88 tonnes de propelgol solide. Le deuxième étage du lanceur, avec les moteurs ZN3 d'environ 23 tonnes de propelgol solide, et le troisième étage du lanceur, avec les moteurs Z9 d'environ 10 tonnes de propelgol solide, sont fabriqués en Italie, dans les usines Avio de Colleferro, et transportés en Guyane par bateau. Les étages sont ensuite transportés dans la zone de lancement et intégrés sous l'étage précédent pour compléter le lanceur. Le quatrième étage du lanceur Vega, avec les moteurs Avum, en propulsion liquide avec des propelgols stockables. Il a été intégré sous le lanceur le 19 octobre, complétant ainsi l'intégration du lanceur après 12 jours de campagne.
Le satellite MOHAMMED VI B est arrivé en Guyane le 5 octobre depuis Toulouse en Antonov 124. Le conteneur satellite a ensuite été transporté par voie routière jusqu'au bâtiment S5K qui a vu se dérouler toutes les phases de préparation et remplissage du satellite. Après des tests de bonne santé électrique et fluide qui auront duré 2 semaines, le satellite a été rempli en hydrazine par l'équipe Ariane Group. La revue autorisant le début des opérations combinées s'est tenue le vendredi 26 octobre.
Au cours des 2 semaines suivantes, les essais d'acceptation du lanceur ont été effectués. Ces essais ont vérifié le fonctionnement des équipements électroniques jusqu'à la simulation de la mission de vol, essai de synthèse, qui a eu lieu le 30 octobre.
Le premier jour de ces opérations combinées, le lundi 29 octobre, le satellite a été sanglé sur son adaptateur de vol PLA 937 par l'équipe Arianespace. Le satellite a été ensuite transféré le lendemain dans le conteneur CCU-3 vers le bâtiment d'assemblage final, BAFHE, bâtiment destiné habituellement aux charges utiles Ariane 5. Le dernier trimestre comptant 5 lancements, l'objectif était de libérer le hall de remplissage au plus tôt pour le satellite suivant. Le satellite MOHAMMED VI a ensuite été transféré sur la zone de lancement le jeudi 8 novembre, puis intégré par l'équipe Avio sur le lanceur le lendemain, conformément au plan d'opération standard.
Le lanceur Vega est prêt à mettre en orbite les nouveaux satellites MOHAMMED VI.
So that's what's been happening so far, and here we are back here today at 4 minutes and 26 seconds to launch. A few key people here in the Mission Control Center.
À tous de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale lanceur. Top à 0-4 minutes.
So the Range Operations Manager has now announced the beginning of the synchronized sequence, the last 4 minutes during this time. The computers are controlling all the final checks in the countdown. They manage an impressive list of operations, and those are reflected in the status panels. This is the Range Operations Manager. He's the one who announces all the key milestones in the flight, and on the left-hand side you can see those status panels there. There they are, all green. That's a good sign. Green is go. Now these panels are reflecting the status of all the systems across the base which send their red green signal to those panels, and before the launch all eyes are on those panels. In fact, everybody across the range. And the range is the ensemble of buildings here at the Guiana Space Center, and that includes the tracking stations dotted along the flight path. Now, these operations are being watched over by the teams in here at the Launch Control Center. These guys and girls are 1 kilometre roughly from the pad in a specially protected building. Several different teams in here. One of them responsible for the operations on the ground, coordinating with mission control for final authorization to launch. We have another team which is responsible for the flight readiness of the vehicle, overseeing operations from assembly of the launcher to the moment of launch. Just under 2 minutes to launch. You can see this is the fairing. Our satellite is in there. Vega is standing tall on the pad. We have 3 working launch zones here at the Guiana Space Center. 1 for each of our 3 rockets. And this is the Vega launch site. It was built on the first Ariane launch pad. That was Ariane 1. Lifted off on the 24th of December 1979. And you can see here all the invited guests who were inside the Mission Control Center now coming out onto the balcony so that they can watch the launch with their own eyes.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top à 0-1 minute.
And we are 1 minute to launch. Our best wishes to all the teams, to the MOHAMMED VI satellite teams and the Kingdom of Morocco, to the industrial consortium led by Thales Alenia Space and Airbus, and to the teams on the ground waiting to take charge of their satellite. Good luck, everyone. Let's sit back and watch.
À tous de DDO, attention pour les décomptes finales. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage P80. Décollage. La propulsion est nominale. Acquisition de télémesure par la station de Saint-Jean.
They are off. The Mohammed VI satellite is on its way. It's started its journey. Vega, flight number 13, blazing a trail across the equatorial skies over the Guiana Space Center. He's telling us that everything on board is going according to plan. Right now, Vega is pushing itself away from the pull of our Earth. Gravity makes us stick to our planet, but it also makes it hard to leave. And we need an awful lot of firepower to do that.
La propulsion est nominale.
Getting deeper and deeper into space. We're burning the engine on the P80, the first stage.
Séparation P80.
And we saw it burn out there and separate. We actually saw that with our own eyes. And we had that confirmed by the range operations manager, who has also confirmed that we've now switched on the next engine, the Z23. Z for Zafiro, an Italian wind, type of wind, rather like the Sirocco or the Mistral. 23, because it burns 23 tons of propellant. Our altitude on the bottom left, he's telling us everything's going normally. Altitude, we are 83 kilometers above the Earth. Can you see it there? And our speed on the bottom right is 3 kilometers per second. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's fast, and we will be going faster. Our trajectory on the top right-hand side is the planned trajectory. The curve is a simulated curve, and the cross is the actual position of the launch vehicle. We've gone above the 100-kilometer mark above our planet. That means we're now entering space. That's the border with space. And if you look at our image on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that nose of the vehicle that we were talking about earlier. That is the fairing, we call it, protecting the satellite from the rigors of the launch. This is the scheduled moment, and indeed confirmation that the Z23 stage has now burnt out and had been jettisoned.
Allumage Z9.
And we've switched on the Z9.
Largage de la coiffe.
And we have jettisoned the fairing. We don't need it anymore. We are in space. There's hardly any friction. And we can see our satellite for the first time. There it is on the right side of the rocket, the gold structure. It's all folded up for now, and later it'll unfold its solar panels once it's separated, just like a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis and unfolding its wings. The Vega launcher is built in Italy by Avio. Here is the CEO, Giulio Ranzo.
The Vega launcher is the smallest of the European launchers operated by Arianespace. It has set the world record in terms of precision and reliability, with 12 perfect launches in a row from the maiden flight. I am now in our plant in Colleferro, where we are developing Vega C, which will fly for the first time in 2019. For Vega C, we successfully tested the new second stage, Zefiro 40, and P120C, which will be used as the first stage for both Vega C and Ariane 6. Behind me, you see the new interstage structure for Vega C, which is manufactured with a revolutionary anisogrid composite material technology. At the same time, we are working also on a new version of Vega, Vega E, which will fly for the first time in 2024. Last week, we tested a technology demonstrator M10, the new cryogenic methane engine for Vega E. The Avio team, together with its industrial partners and Arianespace and ESA, are ready to demonstrate once again the strength of Europe's collaboration in the space industry. I therefore wish the best success to the 13th mission of Vega.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Vega is particularly well suited to launching Earth observation satellites. Those are satellites which collect vital information about our planet. Things like helping us to better understand Earth's environment and atmosphere. Indeed, this is the 15th Earth observation satellite to travel on board Vega, and we have 11 more in the Arianespace order book.
Séparation du Z9.
So the Z9 has now switched its engine off and been jettisoned, losing weight all the time. And what we're looking at here is the upper stage, the AVM upper stage. The main propulsion phase is now finished. We've got away from Earth. And there's our flight path. Galileo is
Acquisition de la télémesure pour la station de Bermude.
So we have acquisition of signal at the Bermuda tracking station. So Galileo was our first tracking station in the Guiana Space Center. And then we're heading north. We've picked up the signal in Bermuda. And the next one after that will be St. Hubert, which is in Canada. We are using telemetry to track the vehicle. Vega is sending information to those ground stations along its flight path, and then they then send that data to the teams here at the Guiana Space Center. And that allows everybody, well, certainly the teams in the CVI who will be visiting later, to monitor the flight in real time. Looking here at the AVM upper stage, on the left-hand side, the white cone, and that's what's left of our rocket.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
This is the scheduled moment.
Premier allumage de la VOOM.
And it has been confirmed. The AVM upper stage has switched on its engine for its first burn. So we've really started the next phase of the journey. AVM has taken the wheel. Its job is to deliver our satellite to its required drop-off point in space. Once it does that, the Mohammed VI satellite will be able to join...
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux. Le pilotage est calme.
All going well. It'll be able to join its twin, the Mohammed VI satellite, as the second satellite in Morocco's Earth observation program. The first satellite has already been performing flawlessly since Arianespace launched it a year ago. Morocco is a modern society and truly magnificent.
Stretching from the Sahara to the gates of Europe and a link to Africa, with its rich cultural heritage and modern society, its breathtaking landscapes from the coasts of the Mediterranean and the world-famous surfing spots on the Atlantic, to the snow-capped peaks of the Atlas Mountains and the oases and dunes of the desert, Morocco is a land of magnificent landscapes and cultural heritage. Under the guidance of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, Morocco is resolutely turned towards the future. The country has a booming automotive industry, and it's now Africa's leading producer of vehicles. Morocco's industries and businesses are thriving. This, combined with tourists attracted by the country's culture and scenery, make it no surprise that Morocco's many airports are experiencing a double-digit increase in passenger traffic year after year. A kingdom steeped in history, Morocco is nurturing and restoring its rich heritage as a witness to history for future generations of people to enjoy from every part of the globe. Morocco is one of the countries who are making a real contribution to the fight against the harmful effects of greenhouse gas emissions. The organisation of COP22 in Marrakesh in November 2016 speaks loud for the kingdom's commitment to the sustainable development of our planet. Thanks to the mobilisation of surface water, the extension of Morocco's gigantic solar power station over 200 acres near the historic city of Ouarzazate, and the creation of new wind farms, renewable energy will make up over half the country's electricity mix by 2030. With enormous phosphate resources estimated at 75% of the world's reserves, and as the world's largest exporter of phosphate, thanks to the OCP group, Morocco has been able to develop all the value chains of this ore and help agriculture all over the world, and in particular in Africa. With its rich and important biodiversity and a long cultural history spanning several thousand years, Morocco is a 12-fold secular civilization which lives and breathes a real meeting of cultures from Arabic and Muslim to Berber and Hassani, enriched by African, Andalusian, Hebrew and Mediterranean influences. Its position at the heart of a triangle of relationships between Europe and Africa and Asia and Africa make it a player in world trade. Nowadays, its Tangier Med port is known as the new Mediterranean hub. Morocco's ambitions for industrial acceleration are reflected in things like its burgeoning aeronautics industry, a rapidly growing sector which is becoming a driving force of economic growth, making the country ever more attractive to business people, industrialists and tourists alike. And now, Morocco has the LGV, Africa and the Arab world's first high-speed train line. It was inaugurated last Thursday by His Majesty King Mohammed VI and the French President Emmanuel Macron. This first high-speed link between Casablanca and Tangiers marks the partnership between France and Morocco, a partnership which helped pave the way for the Moroccan space program.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Well, I don't know about you, but that certainly made me want to return to Morocco. What a beautiful country. And during that film, we picked up the signal in St. Hubert at the tracking station there, which is in Quebec in Canada. The MOHAMMED VI satellite is the fruit of an important collaboration between Europe's two biggest space industry. We're going to go over now to the CEO of Thales Alenia Space, Jean-Louis Gall.
C'est une grande fierté pour Thales Alenia Space et Airbus, à peine un an après le lancement du satellite MOHAMMED VI-A, de pouvoir compléter la capacité spatiale en optique de très haute résolution pour le Royaume du Maroc avec son jumeau, le satellite MOHAMMED VI-B, placé sur la même orbite que le satellite MOHAMMED VI-A, qui s'acquitte parfaitement de sa mission. Ce deuxième satellite permettra d'améliorer le temps de revisite des zones d'intérêt stratégique, tout en apportant une continuité et une garantie de service pour les applications civiles et gouvernementales. Le lancement d'aujourd'hui constitue une étape majeure dans le déploiement de la constellation de ce programme d'observation de la Terre, extrêmement performant pour le Royaume du Maroc. Au nom de notre consortium industriel, je remercie très chaleureusement le Royaume du Maroc, ainsi que les équipes de Thales Alenia Space, d'Airbus, d'Arianespace, et de nos partenaires industriels pour le professionnalisme et la qualité de la coopération. C'est une nouvelle et très belle démonstration de l'excellence de l'industrie française au service de notre client, le Royaume du Maroc, et de son rayonnement.
reste 30 secondes de propulsion de la VOOM.
And he's telling us that we have 30 seconds left of propulsion on the AVAM upper stage. So it's getting ready to switch its engine off. Our altitude, 308 kilometers above our planet. You can see on the top right-hand side of the screen that we have been climbing into space. Our speed, nearly 8 kilometers per
Extinction
second.
de la VOOM.
And he's confirmed that the AVAM upper stage has switched off its engine. So this means that we are now in the ballistic phase. That means we're traveling without propulsion. We are high enough and fast enough to cruise without the engine. And this lasts just over 36 minutes. So we've begun the orientation phase. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen the image of the launcher twisting a little. That's because the AVAM upper stage has to release the satellite onto a very precise orbit. Right now it's orientating itself, putting itself into the correct position to separate the satellite later. We're also entering a barbecue phase, which basically means that we rotate on a spit, just like on a barbecue. And that's to maintain the temperatures evenly, because of course we have the hot sun on one side and cold space on the other. Now, the AVAM upper stage is due to switch its engine on again in about 35 minutes' time for a second burn, so we're going to take a break for roughly 20 minutes. During that time, we will have a planned gap in visibility of the ground stations. That means that we will go out of the range of the ground stations for a while. The St. Hubert tracking station is scheduled to lose Vega's signal at in about 2 minutes' time. And then we plan to pick it up again at the station in New Norcia in Australia about 31 minutes later. So during that time we won't be getting any information from the launcher, and that's perfectly normal. All part of the plan. This was the launch, 17 coming up to 18 minutes ago. I'm going to leave you with these beautiful images. I shall be back here with you at 11:25 at night here in Kourou. That's 3:25 in the morning in Morocco and in Paris, and 2:25 Universal Time. In the meantime, let's watch this beautiful launch.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux. Fin de visibilité de la station de Saint-Hubert. Nous entrons dans une phase balistique durant 31 minutes.
Hello again and welcome back to our live broadcast here at the Guiana Space Center. You're looking there at not the real Ariane 5, but a model here at the just outside the Mission Control Center. We are 43 minutes into the launch of the MOHAMMED VI satellite for the Kingdom of Morocco, and right now it's flying through space, attached to what's left of the Vega launcher, the AVM upper stage. The upper stage has switched off its engine. That was about 25 minutes ago. We've been coasting without the engine ever since in the ballistic phase. That means without propulsion. We're outside visibility of the ground stations right now. All part of the plan, all normal. Vega is scheduled to check in with New Norcia in Australia in 15 minutes' time, roughly. The story so far: we lifted off from the pad 44 minutes and 36 seconds ago at 10:42 here in Kourou at the spaceport. The satellite travelling on board a Vega launcher number 13, VV13, the 13th one to lift off since it took to the skies in 2012. And the first 3 stages all went according to plan. The powered phase of the flight lasted 6 minutes and 30 seconds and got us into space. Then the next phase started when the AVM upper stage switched its engine on. Its job is to deliver our satellite onto its orbit. It switched its engine off again, and we went into our ballistic phase before switching the engine back on. Next, what will be coming up will be the separation of the satellite, and that's what it's going to look like. Now, building a satellite is no small feat. It's a big and complex engineering project which takes a lot of time, a lot of people, and a lot of expertise. And once we're in space, we can't go and repair it, so everything has to work absolutely perfectly. And that's why engineering for space is such high quality. Every component is stress tested, every system validated. And of course, satellites also need ground systems. The control centers where the teams fly the satellites, and of course we need to collect the data and analyze it. And this involves a lot of teamwork. The MOHAMMED VI satellite is the result of excellent collaboration between the Moroccan teams and the industrial consortium led by Thales Alenia Space. Together, they have created an advanced satellite with cutting-edge technology.
Nathalie vous a présenté la mission du satellite MOHAMMED VI et décrit l'intérêt qu'elle représente pour le Royaume du Maroc. Richard et moi souhaitons vous parler de cette nouvelle étape majeure pour le programme, qui est le lancement du satellite MOHAMMED VI. Nous voulons d'abord remercier l'ensemble des équipes qui ont contribué jour après jour au succès de ce projet. Nous adressons un salut tout particulier aux équipes marocaines et à celles d'Airbus et de Thales Alenia Space.
Merci Jean-Marie. Depuis le lancement du satellite MOHAMMED VI-A, les équipes marocaines et françaises ont travaillé en étroite coopération pour la réception du système. En parallèle, les activités de fabrication et de test du satellite MOHAMMED VI-B se sont poursuivies pour être au rendez-vous de cette campagne de lancement. Ce fut une année très riche pour toutes les équipes dans un esprit exemplaire de partenariat.
En effet, le programme a continué à passer toutes les étapes de validation avec succès. C'est avec joie que nous sommes de nouveau rassemblés ici pour lancer, dans le respect des délais initiaux, ce second satellite complémentaire au système déjà opérationnel.
Pour cette seconde campagne de lancement, nous avons retrouvé avec un grand plaisir les équipes d'Arianespace et du CNES. Nous les remercions pour leur efficacité et leur capacité à faire de ces missions de grandes rencontres techniques et humaines.
En parallèle du lancement, les équipes ont également préparé ensemble les activités à venir avec tout d'abord le premier contact avec le satellite mis en orbite, sa mise à poste et les tests du système complet à 2 satellites. Nous remercions à nouveau le Royaume du Maroc pour ce partenariat remarquable et pour la confiance qu'il témoigne envers le consortium Airbus et Thales Alenia Space.
Et maintenant, souhaitons bonne chance au satellite Mohammed VI.
Absolutely. Now, we talked about telemetry earlier, which is how we find out about what's happening to the launcher. It sends a signal to the tracking stations along its flight path. They have big dishes which listen out for the rocket as it flies over. Now, we've been outside the range of the tracking stations for approximately half an hour, and during this time, Vega should have been storing information about the flight, and soon we're scheduled to check in with the tracking station in New Norcia. That's actually a European Space Agency tracking station near Perth in Western Australia. It has a dish of 4.5 meters wide. It can track objects up to 100,000 kilometers away, and it's been used for European Space Agency spacecraft. Now, the teams at the tracking stations send the information coming from the launcher here to the CVI. The CVI
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de New Norcia en Australie.
So the range operations manager has confirmed that we've picked up the signal and in New Norcia, and they're sending the information to these teams here at the immediate visual control center, who are tracking and monitoring the flight in real time and also using the information to make an evaluation after the flight to see how it went. He's telling us that everything's going according to plan on board, and you can see our flight data on the bottom of the screen has returned. And of course now Vega should be sending all of that information that it stored during its gap in telemetry to the New Norcia station, and then of course New Norcia sends that here to the CVI. Can you see Vega turning? Now these are
manœuvre d'orientation avant le deuxième allumage de la VOOM.
He's telling us that this is the orientation maneuver before the second burn of the AVM upper stage. These are CGI images, computer-generated images. The experts put a lot of information into the computer, and these are a simulation of what's happening in space, giving us an idea of what it looks like. Even getting ready to switch its engine back on. It has to circularize its orbit. At the moment, it's on an elliptical orbit. That means it's the shape of an egg, an oval.
Deuxième allumage de la VOOM.
And he's confirmed that we've switched the engine back on, so now we need to turn that orbit into a circle, and we need a little bit of power to do that. The AVM upper stage is
nominal.
It's all going well, all going according to plan. It's the clever part of the launcher, the smart stage.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
Its job is to deliver the satellite to a specific orbit, and it's designed to inject different payloads into different orbits. The upper module contains the avionics. That's the sort of thing you find on aeroplanes. Flight control systems, navigation, communications, that kind of thing. Then the lower module is the propulsion module. It has 4 tanks containing 2 types of liquid propellant.
La propulsion est nominale.
And the propulsion is normal. The engine can switch on and off up to 20 times.
And the satellite's attached using a special dispenser. It's developed by a Ukrainian company called Yushnoye. Interestingly, when it crosses the border to Italy, where it's integrated by the Italian company Avio, it becomes Italian.
Deuxième extinction de la VOOM.
So we have the second engine shutdown of the AVM upper stage. So we are now on our orbit. Altitude 611 kilometers. Our distance, 17, nearly 18,000 kilometers, is our distance if you were to draw a straight line across the Earth from the launch pad to the position where the launcher is now over the Earth. And our speed, 7.64 kilometers per second. The AVM upper stage is now in what some people like to call the space ballet. It's getting ready to release the satellite, and it has to go through a very precise, very carefully planned set of maneuvers. Everything's going well. We need to orientate the satellite correctly so that we can set it on the right path. Top right-hand side, you can see how we climbed initially very steeply into space. Then we plateaued out a little bit so that we could pick up speed and then start going higher and higher into space. And we're now at 612 kilometers above our Earth. The upper stage uses some nozzles to orientate itself. And we have confirmation of the separation of the satellite, the MOHAMMED VI satellite being some very happy faces there. Congratulations to the Kingdom of Morocco, who now has a new satellite. And our warmest congratulations to all the MOHAMMED VI satellite teams, everybody in Morocco, the industrial consortium led by Thales Alenia Space and Airbus. Well done, everybody. The MOHAMMED VI satellite is now heading out on its own to work with its twin, the MOHAMMED VI satellite, and start its new life in space. I have no doubt that the two of them will be very happy to be together. These teams have worked extremely hard, and I think everybody deserves a big slap on the back. They can feel very proud of themselves. We lifted off from the pad nearly 57 minutes ago at 2:42 in the morning in Morocco and 10:42 here at the Guiana Space Center. It was the 588th satellite to be launched by Arianespace, and it was an absolutely perfect liftoff. The clouds parted just at the right moment, and we saw the Vega launcher blast its way across the night skies here, shooting out over the ocean and heading towards the Caribbean. And the teams here in the Mission Control Center, the Jupiter Mission Control Center, very happy faces, smiling faces for a job well done. Of course, it's not over for everybody. Some of the teams here at the Guiana Space Center will be monitoring the next phases for the upper stages. But in the meantime, the MOHAMMED VI satellite has to go through a set of commissioning activities now. After that, the teams at the Operations Center in Morocco will start piloting their satellite.
Mohammed VI-B is in safe hands. The teams in Morocco have already been successfully operating their first satellite for a year, the Mohammed VI-A satellite. I have no doubt that they are really looking forward now to taking charge of their next satellite. So our best wishes to all of them for the next phase of the operations.
Mesdames et messieurs,
chers invités, Arianespace est ravi de confirmer la séparation réussie du satellite Mohammed VI-B sur l'orbite héliosynchrone visée. Pour la deuxième fois cette année, la 13e fois depuis son introduction au CSG en 2012, le succès est au rendez-vous pour Vega et pour ses clients. Félicitations à tous. Bravissimi.
Après le satellite Mohammed VI-A,
Mohammed VI-A satellite a little over a year ago, Arianespace has carried out a second successful launch for the Kingdom of Morocco. Thank you for this renewed trust, proof that you recognize the quality and reliability of Arianespace and the Vega launcher. Allow me to express my heartfelt gratitude to Karim Tajmouati, Director General of the Moroccan National Agency for Land Conservation, Land Registry and Mapping, who honors us with his presence here this evening. Our collaboration, although recent, is already a success, and we hope that this will be the beginning of a long series of shared successes. I would also like to thank Thales Alenia Space, our customer for this flight, and prime contractor for the construction of the satellite within the framework of a consortium with Airbus, the co-prime. The satellite Mohammed VI-B is the 155th built by Thales Alenia Space and launched by Arianespace. And I would like to welcome the presence of Jean-Louis Gall, Chairman and CEO of Thales Alenia Space. With 11 other satellites in Arianespace's backlog, including 4 O3B satellites, our partnership is set to confirm for years to come. The satellite Mohammed VI-B is also the 123rd built by Airbus and orbited by Arianespace. We have 22 other Airbus satellites in our backlog, not including those for the OneWeb constellation. So our thanks go to Philippe Pham, Senior VP, Head of Earth Observation, Navigation and Science, who joins us here this evening for this launch. Thanks again for this renewed trust. Tonight's launch marks the 10th Vega flight dedicated to Earth observation. And for the CSG, the month of November was particularly eventful for Earth observation and weather forecasting. With the launch of MEDOP-C just 2 weeks ago, that launch marked the start of a series of 4 missions for weather forecasting and Earth observation. So the satellite Mohammed VI-B this evening is the second in this series, which will continue in December with the GeoComSat 2A, a weather satellite for the South Korean Space Agency Carry, which will be launched by Ariane 5, and the satellite CSO-1 for the French Directorate General for Armament, who are here with us this evening, and the French Space Agency, which will be launched by Soyuz. With its family of 3 launchers, Arianespace is particularly active in this segment, which reflects our mission to use space to improve life on Earth. And European launchers are well suited to meet the needs of this dynamic segment. As proof of this, 30% of our backlog is comprised of Earth observation satellites. So this 13th successful launch of Vega is in keeping with the last 6 years of successes at the CSG. These results bear witness to the outstanding performance of the European launcher family's lightweight vehicle. Since its debut in French Guiana in 2012, Vega has carried out its mission flawlessly, delivering for institutional as well as commercial customers. So allow me now to express my congratulations to our partners who have made this Vega launch the 9th success of 2018, starting with Avio, the industrial prime contractor for Vega. I would like to thank their CEO, Giulio Ranzo, who is with us here tonight, and wish many more great successes to Vega until Vega C is ready to take over. And I would also like to congratulate and thank our national agencies, and starting with European Space Agency and the Italian Space Agency for their continuous support of the Vega program. I would also like to thank the CNES, our partner on a daily basis here at the CSG, as well as our subcontractors in French Guiana and all the employees of the CSG. And of course, I would like to thank and congratulate all my colleagues at Arianespace who were behind this 303rd launch for the CSG, all launchers combined. So now I would like to invite our customers and partners to join me up here on stage. Karim?
Mesdames et messieurs, effectivement, il y a à peine une année, j'ai envie de dire, nous étions réunis en ce lieu remarquable pour assister, ensuite pour célébrer
and celebrate later the launch and the orbiting of the first Earth observation satellite of the Kingdom of Morocco, the Mohammed VI satellite. We are here again tonight with just as much joy and pride to see this successful launch of satellite Mohammed VI, that is the second Earth observation satellite of the Kingdom. I would like, without further ado, in the name of my colleagues of the Moroccan delegation, express all the pride, the joy, intense joy that you can imagine that fills us in this historical milestone. Both satellites, Mohammed VI-A and B, form leading edge technological infrastructure and a very important development driver. All the range of the satellite applications that already were through Mohammed VI-A satellite have been deployed will cover a strategic number of areas for our country. I will quote, amongst other things, the issues related to land surveying and mapping, which is of great concern to myself, and for which we have certainly opened a new era tonight. The area of land or regional development, areas such as the monitoring of agricultural campaign, which are very critical in a country such as Morocco. I would add to this by way of illustration, and this is something also for a country such as ours, which is essential, the struggle against desertification and protection of forestry. So these are as many areas that can be catered for by this satellite imaging for our country. Of course, I note that the success of this project reflects a very strong cooperation between our two countries, the French Republic and the Kingdom of Morocco. And in this regard, I would like to refer to the inauguration in the beautiful town of Tanger of the first high-speed train link that was inaugurated by Mohammed VI, the King of Morocco, and President Emmanuel Macron. The success of this project first is the result of remarkable collaboration marked by the seriousness, the professionalism and rigor of both teams, of all the teams that were involved. Therefore, I would like to congratulate and thank warmly the French consortium, Thales Alenia Space and Airbus, defense and space for their expertise, their implication that they have demonstrated throughout the implementation of this project. Also, my thanks to all the teams of Arianespace, of CNES, ESA, and of course to our friends from Avio for the excellent work they have produced and the quality of their contribution to the success of our satellite project for the Kingdom of Morocco. Last of all, I would like to thank my colleagues here and those who had to go back to Toulouse, those who are back there in Rabat, who year in, year out, day after day have conducted this project with a high sense of responsibility. So thank you to all of you for supporting us throughout and being here to celebrate this beautiful moment today. Thank you.
Good evening to all. After those wonderful words of Karim, I would like to thank, first of all, Arianespace for this fantastic launch. Obviously, it's become such a habit to see these successes of Arianespace that they're beginning to look very easy, but not at all. We know this is really a magnificent technical accomplishment at each launch. And it also shows the excellence of the excellency of Arianespace's teams. I would also like to thank the manufacturer of the launcher, Avio. Giulio is here with all his teams, and they're always so impressive. 13 successes in a row, no failure, and I'm convinced that it will continue that way. And there will be plenty of successes for Vega C in the future, and obviously I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the delegation from the Kingdom of Morocco and Karim Tajmouati in particular for their trust. They trusted us several years ago. We at Thales Alenia Space and Airbus, they entrusted the construction of that constellation of 2 satellites for Earth observation to us. I would also like to thank our colleagues at Airbus for the quality of the excellent cooperation and their very high-quality technical contribution, and thank Airbus for these months and years of working together. I would finally like to thank these teams at Thales Alenia Space, people who worked for several years on a daily basis on this program, on these 2 satellites, and who really demonstrated their commitment and their professionalism, worked very hard to succeed this project. In a few moments, we'll have the first telemetry data from the satellite. So I would like to thank you all. You have the result of your fantastic work, and I think it's really the best reward for all of you. Much better than this speech by your CEO. Of course, Alenia Space is ready to work with you again to meet new challenges for the Kingdom of Morocco, and we will devote our energy and enthusiasm to developing new space systems and thus contribute to the stature of the Kingdom of Morocco. So 13 successful launches for Avio and Arianespace. Work is continuing for Thales Alenia Space and Airbus. We're going to take the control of the satellite and test it in orbit until it can be delivered, the operational delivery in a few days, and we have full confidence in those teams to carry out these operations and to deliver the satellite to our client, the Kingdom of Morocco. So, Mabrouk to the Kingdom of Morocco.
Donc, rajouter après tous ces remerciements.
Can I add after all these thanks, barely 1 year after the launch of its twin, the Mohammed VI satellite? It's a great honor for me to be here tonight to celebrate with the whole space family the successful launch of Mohammed VI satellite. With this second launch, the Kingdom of Morocco has complemented its constellation of 2 very high-resolution Earth observation satellites to enable improved coverage of the areas of interest. After 30 years of close collaboration between the Kingdom of Morocco and Airbus, in particular for the use of the Spot and Pléiades satellite images, we are very happy to have taken part in this new key program for the Kingdom of Morocco. I would also like to thank the Kingdom of Morocco for the trust it has placed in our consortium between Thales Alenia Space and Airbus for this project, for their active involvement and professionalism. The success of the Mohammed VI-A and B program is the result of 5 years of intense work between our teams at Airbus and Thales Alenia Space, whom I would like to thank also for their efforts. I would like to take this opportunity to send my warmest greetings to all the team members in Toulouse. We know that the work is not finished, it's not over with the separation of the satellite, but that work will continue for our teams in Toulouse and other places. The consortium's teams, together with the Moroccan team, will take over control over the satellite in Toulouse in the next few hours to begin operations to place the system in its final position. So good luck to the Mohammed VI-B satellite.
Once again, congratulations to everyone for this outstanding success. We'll be back on December 4th with our heavyweight launcher. For the next launch of the year, Ariane 5 will place into orbit 2 satellites for 2 major space agencies, the GSAT-11 for the Indian Space Agency ISRO, and GeoComSat-2A for the South Korean Space Agency CARI. Thank you very much for your attention, and thanks to those who follow us behind their screens, and enjoy the rest of your evening. For those of you who are in Rabat, Collet-Ferry, and Toulouse and Évry, good evening to all.
Space joining its twin VI-A satellite, the Kingdom of Morocco now has 2 satellites working together to do some very, very important work. Congratulations to everybody in the Kingdom of Morocco and to everybody who's been involved in today's launch, to the industrial teams, to everybody here at the spaceport, and of course our very best wishes now to the teams in the ground centres in the ground centre in Morocco who are going to be flying their satellite. It has been a truly wonderful night and quite an adventure. And I'm out here now on the terrace at the Mission Control Center here in the Jupiter Control Center at the Guiana Space Port. We're going to leave you now with some memories of our launch tonight. So until next time, goodbye.
हम लोग वेट करें। décollage.
फोटो दिखाने के बाद यार इसको मैंने देखा